Guys, we are going to meet again, like I told us in the last lesson, that when we meet again we are going to look at law 4. We go to the previous lesson, you see that we have dealt with law 1, law 2, law 3 of the laws of mathematical sign. So we are going to look at law 4. Law 4 is what we are going to look at today, and law 5. And you only do well by subscribing to this channel to your loved ones, and also stay fit in this channel. It will be of importance to you. Like I said, this channel is for educational purpose only. So now we are going to look at law 4. Law 4, which we are going to be looking at, states that it is the law of multiplication of odd sequence negative numbers. Odd sequence negative numbers. If odd sequence negative numbers are multiplied together, the result will be negative. And we know what odd is all about. Odd numbers are 3, 5, 7, and so on. So if negative numbers are arranged sequentially in an odd form, in an odd order, when such numbers are multiplied out, the result must be negative. So that is what we are going to see now. For example, minus 1, minus 2, minus 1. This is an odd negative sequence. You can see that negative numbers are arranged in an odd form, 1, 2, 3. Another example of odd form, we have minus 2, minus 2, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is also another odd sequence, negative sequence, arranged in an odd order. So in such situation like this, when numbers, negative numbers like this are multiplied, that are arranged in an odd order, the result will be negative. Let us take an example and use this sequence to solve the problem. Like in the case of the first sequence there, if we are to multiply out, we are going to have minus 1 times minus 2 times minus 1. So minus 1 times minus 2. From our law 1, minus times minus is plus. So minus 1 times minus 2 will become plus 2 times minus 1 times this minus 1. And in our law, 2 times minus 1 will become minus 2. Because in our law 2, we are told that plus times minus is minus. So plus times minus here, plus 2 times minus 1 here is minus 2. So as you can see, we have added this sequence in an odd order. We now resulted in having minus 2. Now let us look at the second sequence here. Minus 2 times minus 1 times minus 2 times minus 3 times minus 1. This is another sequence arranged in an odd order. So minus times minus 2 times minus 1 is plus 2 times this minus 2 you are seeing here times minus 2. So minus times minus 2 will give us minus 4. Now minus 4 times minus 3. So minus 4 times minus 3 will give us plus 12 times this minus 1. So minus 12 times minus 1 will give us minus 12. So as you can see, if negative numbers arranged in an odd form, if such numbers are multiplied out, the result will be negative. You can see in the first case, we multiplied the first sequence and the thing gave us negative 2. Now we have multiplied the second sequence here. We are told that minus 2 times minus 1 is plus 2. Plus 2 times minus 2 is minus 4. Minus 4 times minus 3 is plus 12. Plus 12 times minus 1 is minus 12. You can see we now ended having minus. So have it in mind that when negative numbers are arranged sequentially in an odd form, the result will be negative. So that is law 4 in mathematics. Take note of these laws because they are very, very important. Sometimes we mix their signs out, and you know, in mathematics, when you miss a particular sign, you are off. So where you are supposed to put plus and you are putting minus, from that point down, the answer will not be correct. So we are going to look at law 5. Now, we are done with law 4. We are going to look at law 5. So, law 5 states that one of the laws of mathematics, law 5 laws of mathematical science, law 5 states that law of addition of even numbers. Law 5 law of mathematical science states that laws of addition of negative numbers. So in that law 5, when negative numbers are added, the result will be negative. When negative numbers are added, whether they are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, and so on and so forth, if you add negative numbers together, the result will be negative. That is the law. For example, minus 1 plus minus 2 plus minus 1. Now you can see how I'm separating the signs. When positive and negative sign, when two signs comes together, positive and negative, use parentheses to separate the signs. Use parentheses to separate the signs. Like in this case, minus 1 plus minus 2 plus minus 1. It will be wrong for you to write this way. Minus 1 plus minus 2 plus minus 1. It is wrong to write it this way. So the better form for you to write when you are adding minus numbers is to separate the two signs, that the plus and minus, with a parenthesis, with bracket. Like you can see in this case, minus 1 plus minus 2 plus minus 1. And we are told that when you are adding negative number, the law states that when negative numbers are added together, the result will be negative. Note that the original operation you are adding. So what you do in this case when you are adding negative numbers, add all the numbers, but let the result of the operation, the result of the addition, be negative. That is to say, we are going to add this now. Minus 1, we are going to add this minus 1, minus 2, and minus 1. So it becomes minus, you add 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 1 is what? 4. So the result will be 4. But we are told that when you are adding minus numbers, negative numbers, let the result, the sign of the result carries a negative carries minus. So the result must end up being negative. So we now put our minus here to become minus 4 because we added negative numbers. You can also write it this way. Minus 1 minus plus times minus is minus 2. Plus times minus here is minus 1. So as you can see, we want to remove this bracket. Since they are, so this thing means plus times minus. When you see a bracket like this that is being separated, two brackets are being separated by parentheses, by two signs that are being separated by bracket or parentheses, you now see that you multiply them out. This means plus times minus. And if you go to our second law in our last lesson, you see that plus times minus is minus. So we are going to have minus 1, minus 2, minus 1. Plus times minus is minus this one. So minus 1, minus 2, minus 1 is equals to minus 4. So have it in mind that when you are adding negative numbers, add all the numbers, but let the result be negative. That is the law in mathematics. Whether the numbers are 1 million, add all the numbers, the negative numbers, add them all, and let the result be negative. You must do the normal addition, add the numbers, but let the result of the operation carries a minus sign, as you can see in this case. So you can also do this at home. Assignment. Add minus 2, minus 3, minus 1, minus 2, minus 8. That is what I want you to do right now as you are seated there watching me. Do this as an assignment and make the comment below. But you do well by subscribing to this channel. In our next class, we are going to be looking at law 6, law 7, law 8, and so on. So stay fit in this channel, subscribe, like the channel for educational purpose. There are more tips that will be in this